Today, you're going to learn what your case study titles absolutely cannot mention, how to make your readers connect with your case studies on an emotional level, the least you can do to promote your case studies, how to make your offering look great without turning the case study into just another sales sheet, why it's important to mention your process in your case studies, and the power of giving specific detail. Hi, I'm Mike Russell from ConvertWithCaseStudies.com. I write compelling case studies for B2B SaaS companies with a focus in the information security industry. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 good practices to follow in your case studies, 3 bad practices to avoid, and my reasoning behind each one. Now, to be clear, I had no part in creating this case study. I'm just using it as an educational example. Today's case study comes from Shape Security, and it's about them helping an unnamed global retailer. Shape Security stops automated web and mobile application attacks that bypass existing defenses. Now, to get the most out of this video, take a minute to read the case study. I've included its download link below. Practice 1. Tell a positive story. So this case study's title is a missed opportunity. Millions lost to stored value credit fraud. That focuses on the negative. It doesn't focus on the positive outcome that Shape Security brought to this unnamed global retailer. That's not the first impression you really want to give. If I were to write this case study's title, I'd write something like, Global Retailer Halts $25 million in Credit Card Fraud. Now moving on to the subheaders. Situation, attack target, attack methods. Readers who skim this case study will only see that the global retailer lost millions in credit card fraud, that they were getting attacked a lot, and that Shape stopped the attacks, but only if they look at the graph, which takes a minute to interpret. The subheader failure of existing security solutions is okay. But overall, the subheaders could have been more descriptive. So rather than situation, you could have summarized the threat that the retailer was suffering. It could be credential stuffing attacks threaten millions of accounts. I'm a big fan of slightly longer, more descriptive subheaders for people who skim through the case study and aren't willing to invest the time to read the whole thing. Practice 2. Connect with emotion. This case study has excellent detail about the challenges faced by the customer. It lists $25 million a year in annual credit card chargebacks, 91% of its login traffic coming from bot attacks, and hundreds of thousands of customer accounts getting tested as a part of those attacks. This sets up the severity of the problem and the basis for an emotional connection with the reader. If they see their problems in the case study, then they're going to be much more interested in how Shape Security helped resolve this problem, and thus might be interested in pursuing a conversation with Shape Security. Practice 3. Plan your promotion. So stepping out of the writing for a second, I couldn't find any promotion of this case study in Shape's LinkedIn company profile, in its Twitter feed, nor in its executive blog. It's not enough to write the content and then just pass it out at trade shows and after sales conversations. It deserves promotion on these channels too. As a part of the case study's production, when you're considering which customers to feature, give some thought to how and where the piece will be promoted. The appeal of free press can be a deciding factor for smaller customers, and it could at least be a deal sweetener for larger customers. Practice 4. Attack the status quo. This case study does a great job of explaining why conventional solutions and defenses weren't working. For example, to further camouflage their activities, adversaries used proxies and large botnets to make each login attempt appear to come from a different visitor. Traditional security solutions, designed to prevent known attacks, blacklist IP addresses, or block excess traffic from a single host, were bypassed by these methods. So, telling how attackers were getting around the existing defenses implies why the customer chose to work with Shape Security, and it gives helps the reader conclude, or at least puts the thought in the reader's mind that, well, gosh, I blacklist IP addresses too. So if this bot attack was getting around blacklisting IP addresses, then I need to think of a different solution, and hopefully they will think of Shape Security, especially when reading this case study. And that's the main question that case studies need to answer. Why did the customer choose this vendor over competitors? And as an added bonus in the way Shape Security framed it, they get to state why the other guys weren't up to the task. And this is where your case studies can give nice supporting context to a sales collateral. Practice 5. Summarize your process. So in this case study, there's no description of the implementation process. It just reads, the Shape bot wall service was deployed in weeks. That's a missed opportunity to give readers some insight into what it's like, what the experience of working with Shape Security is like. There's so much description of the threat in this case study, I have to imagine that some description of the implementation would have really caught the attention of readers. Sure, there's bound to be some bumps along the way, but that's part of what makes case studies more believable. Leaving out those details impacts the credibility of the piece. Practice 6. Impress with detail. This case study features nice quantitative results. For example, once in full blocking mode, the bot wall began deflecting over 90% of the traffic to the login page. At the same time, normal business metrics did not change. And then later, after that impressive graph, once the malicious traffic was deflected, overall website latency went from 450 milliseconds to 190 milliseconds. Another really impressive quantitative result. But the most impressive quantitative result of all is the $25 million in credit card chargebacks. And yes, it's already mentioned earlier in the piece, but I don't see what would be wrong with mentioning it again here in the conclusion, because that'll then be the last takeaway thought for the reader once they put down the piece. And that's a really good number to associate for Shape Security to associate with. There you have it. 6 practices to make your case studies stronger. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Hopefully it will help them too. I'm Mike Russell from convertwithcasestudies.com. Thanks for watching. Plan 3. More so given that their solution was deployed in weeks, the implementation process would be really interesting. Cut those last few sentences.